Hey everybody, Billy Watkins here with the Whole Package by Premier Packaging. I'm here today with Mackenzie Crigger.
Hi again.
Our Premier Sustainability Manager.
Yes.
And my favorite part, the co-host of our little show here.
Yeah, that's my favorite part too.
Honestly, really? Yes?
No, not
okay.
really.
You're here today for a reason. We're not just co-hosting for no reason. You have some important news to share with us. What is it?
Yeah, Premier is releasing its first sustainability report, and for me, that is personally really, really exciting.
This is what it's all about.
Yeah,
right?
It's a culmination of not only a year's worth of data collection, but it gave us the opportunity to look back at all the good things that Premier has done, and really just showcase all of that and sort of sing our praises.
Are we not to be? It's being released imminently, right? Like,
yes.
I mean, just very, very soon. This thing's coming out. Is Premier? This is our first one. Are a lot of companies doing this? Are we late to the game? Are we right on time? What's happening?
I wouldn't say that we're late to the game by any stretch of the imagination, but sustainability reports are very, very common. If you look at most Fortune 500 companies, Fortune 100 companies, they're all releasing sustainability reports. And if you look at our peers, not only our customers, but other packaging companies that are similar in size and make up to us, they're also now starting to, if not release full sustainability reports, at least release sustainability metrics. So we're sort of in that sweet spot of not being late to the game, but we had the benefit of having some examples to go by and see what other people were talking about.
As we've talked before, I mean, this is it's not going anywhere.
No.
We're gonna keep talking about that. Right. I mean, this is the present and the future. Why was it important for Premier to do this?
I think for us, part of it is really just for our own data collection and our own benchmarking purposes. So we really understand where we are, what we're doing, and not only in the areas where we're excelling, but also the areas where we need to improve. And and some of that really is just we need to figure out how to collect data in a better way in a few areas. But in other areas, it was like, oh my gosh, we have all this data.
So much data, right?
And we hadn't done anything with it, but we can use this data to inform our decision making. And from a customer perspective too, our sales folks, I'm sure you get questions from customers about our sustainability commitments, our sustainability goals, what we're doing for carbon management, what we're doing for waste, what we're doing around transportation. And it's a lot easier for our sales folks to say, here's a report. It can answer a lot of your questions. Right. If they're filling out an RFP, they can attach this report to the RFP. So it's a good resource for our sales team to have.
And I mean, if there are areas that we need to improve, you're never going to know about that unless you're looking at the data.
Absolutely.
We've got 90 locations across the U.S. We're in Mexico, we're in Brazil. As you said before, that it's a lot of data to squeeze in to one report. Let's talk about how we did this. How was this thing put together?
Yeah, so we looked at all Scope 1, Scope 2, and Scope 3 emissions that we could feasibly gather. Scope 1 and Scope 2 emissions for us are really easy to gather.
Not to get in the weeds, but can you explain? So
absolutely. So a Scope 1 emission is something that happens on site. So if we are burning natural gas, if we're utilizing propane to run a forklift, or any of our own fleet vehicles. So any fleet vehicle that we personally control that's not through a 3PL. So all of that is Scope 1 emissions. Scope 2 for us is primarily just purchased electric. So the lights that are running this building, that kind of stuff. And Scope 3, much harder to capture. Those are like the 3PL transportation emissions, commuting emissions for our employees when they drive into work, travel. I'm
on planes a lot.
Yep,
right? Yeah.
Exactly. And so some of those emissions are pretty easy to capture. If when you book your travel, if you use TripIt, we get an automatic carbon report when you book your flight through TripIt.
Let me write that down. Should I be using TripIt?
Yes. So if you aren't using TripIt through Concur, I would love for you to start.
Okay.
That is hugely helpful for us. But the flip side of that, for our employees that either don't have a P card, don't have access to Concur for whatever reason, we're able to track their travel through their expense report. It's a little more manual, it's a little harder for us, but we can still get at that data.
Are you looking at miles in that sense?
Okay. Yeah. So anytime you submit a reimbursement for mileage that you've driven, we pull that reimbursement. We figure out what the mileage is, and we're able to capture that.
And then with flights, is it just sort of a?
Yeah. So flights kind of happens two ways. So if you book through TripIt has a really nice feature where they break it down by segment, and so we know exactly what the carbon emissions were that were associated for the flight that you were on, because we know the airline. We even know the class of travel. So if you're if you're in first class, or if you're in business, or if you're in coach.
Business class, yeah.
Business. So if you're in those, it will break it down even that far and assign a slightly different carbon calculation to that.
This has nothing to do with it. Now, I know at this facility we're using electric forklifts.
Yes.
Everywhere else, are we up?
We are not fully electric yet, but we're fully electric here. We're fully electric down the street, with one exception. We have a heavy duty forklift down there that we've just not found a way to replace yet.
Right. You kind of
with
have
an
to have
electric
it.
version. But slowly, as we go into new spaces, that's just sort of our standard now. We say, we don't bring in propane into a new space unless there is a really, really good reason for it.
My boss has just been yelling at me for years, and I'm trained on a forklift. I'm certified, and I'm a train the trainer. I can train people how to ride them or how to drive them. And I've been on site before, and hadn't had anybody else, and a truck shows up, and I've been on the phone with my boss yelling at him saying I'm not getting on this damn forklift. But cut to this year up in Canada, I was just kind of by myself in the warehouse and just started driving them. Now I love it, but I feel bad because it was a propane. So I'm gonna have to
40 lashes with a wet noodle. But I'm very jealous. I've wanted to be forklift trained for quite some time, so should have added that to my goals for the year. But
it's one of those things where if you're a little bit afraid of it, it's it's not that hard.
No.
It ain't that hard to do,
No.
and a little practice makes perfect.
Yeah, but
so maybe this summer or something we could get out in the warehouse and do a little. We'll make a show out of us. I'll do train the trainer on you in a forklift.
Oh, that'd be great. I
think that'd be podcast gold right there.
Yes, absolutely. But to just not that I don't love to talk about driving a forklift, but to sort of bring it back, one of the things that we've learned through gathering all of this data for the sustainability report is that our propane usage has declined just year over year as we phase out the propane powered forklifts.
Right.
And those are things that we would not necessarily have known. We see that it's much more efficient. It's cheaper for us to run the electric forklifts. They're safer. They provide better air quality.
Yep.
Now, they're a little quieter, so you'll hear more beeps, but sometimes that's a good thing. So.
And a lot of warehouses are going to it. A lot of our customers request electric just in terms of air quality.
Yeah.
They've got their employees working in there, and you're running propane powered forklifts.
Yeah.
That's a consideration
for sure. Absolutely.
How many folks did we have working on this? I mean, directly and indirectly. Right?
So indirectly, I would say probably 50 or 60 because there were so many people that I depend on to collect data for us. Myself and our sustainability specialist, Adara. So we're really the two that pull all the data together and draft it into a report. But, our marketing team helped do a lot of the writing. They laid it out, they made it beautiful. Our IT team developed the software. Well, they didn't develop it, but they implemented the software that we use for a lot of data collection. And had that not happened, we could have collected this data. It would have been much more manual. It would have taken much longer. Yeah. And it would have been much more labor intensive. Our accounting department, God bless them, they probably hate to see an email or a phone call come through from me because I'm like, hey, can you look into this? Hey, I can't find this. Where is this? And, they bend over backwards to help me find stuff that we're not able to find for whatever reason. And
that's awesome.
Yeah.
It's a two-way street,
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes people don't like getting emails from accounting. No, I don't.
I'm usually like, oh no, I'm in trouble.
Right, exactly.
What did I do wrong?
What should people be looking for when they read this?
So our report's really broken out into three big categories. I mean, obviously there's an executive summary at the beginning. So if you want to just see, up close, like what are our goals? What are the highlights? Head straight there. But it's really broken out into an environmental section, which covers obviously carbon emissions, waste, water, sort of anything environmental, transportation. And then we have a people section or a social section that really looks at some of our diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, sets the stage for where we are, sort of where we would like to be. Also looks at our philanthropy, ways that we give back to the community and ways that we encourage our employees to give back to the community. And it really looks at some of the communities where we operate too. We're headquartered in Louisville, but as you noted, we have locations all over the country, and in Canada and Mexico and Brazil.
Yeah, I miss Canada. I didn't even say Canada.
Yeah.
I worked there all summer, but yeah.
Well, they're all mad at you now, so
Hey.
I expect Justin Trudeau to call any minute.
Ooh.
And so then our last section is really about governance, and it sort of just lays out how we make sustainability decisions, why we prioritize sustainability, and just some additional like safeguards that we have in place around policies and procedures that make sure that we operate in a sustainable way.
From the inception of this and saying, okay, we're going to do this. This is our goal. How long did it take?
We're right at a year. I started last year, like December 1st, essentially.
And did we say, okay, we're going to do this, and we kind of set a date, or?
So we were like, if we can get all of this data collected, and it was sort of a little bit of a moving target because you had to figure out, okay, what data exists? What data do we have to figure out how to collect? Is there something that we're not able to get at that's really crucial that would prevent us from releasing a complete report? But by this past summer, we really realized, like, okay, we're going to have all of our data. By the end of the year, we'll have a complete picture of what we did in 2021 and 2022, and some even like 2020 and 2019 data. So,
what is there kind of a normal now that we're up and rolling with it? I mean, it's an annual thing.
Yep.
We'll kind of benchmark
every
it.
February, this will be coming out, and so obviously, I expect to see it on the New York Times bestseller in no time.
Did anything surprise you from it?
Oh gosh, yeah.
Or what surprised me?
One of the things that we looked at when we started mapping our water profile. I mean, obviously, everybody thinks about energy and electricity and carbon, but water tends to fall and not be as important. We don't spend as much money on water just because of where we're at, where our facilities are. But when we started doing our global water mapping, and we realized that about 50% of our facilities are in areas that are at risk to become water stressed areas, it made us kind of say, oh, this is something that we need to pay attention to, and we need to think about when we open new facilities, and we need to think about in these areas where we already are working, what are things that we can do to make sure that we're using water as efficiently as possible, because the last thing that we want to do is go into a community and add an unnecessary burden.
Have we had, would this come to pass, do we have you heard that we've had like customers ask us about our, they get familiar with our sustainability practices and kind of want to leverage that for themselves? And
absolutely. For us, one of the best things about releasing a report like that is it shows our customers and our suppliers what we're doing, and it really allows us to find some opportunities to work together. So especially around zero waste. So if we have a customer that's really committed to zero waste and they know that we're pursuing zero waste in all of our facilities, being able to go to them and say, hey, if we redesign this box just a little bit, we can save this much material. It cuts our waste down, it cuts your waste down. Right. And when we're able to work together to find those win-win situations, it makes those partnerships stronger, and it allows us to leverage some economies of scale that might not have been available otherwise.
Awesome. What are we talking about page-wise, page count?
It's about, I think the last I heard, it was 74 pages. Cindy might murder me if I add another.
Not having ever, read one myself. I mean, is it just, is it fairly Is it a light read?
It is easily consumable, in my opinion, and it's in large part because I did not write it. I told people what needed to be in it, and our writers really took care of crafting that. And I would go back through and just make sure, like, yes, we've communicated this correctly. We've stated these things in the proper way. We tried to include a lot of charts and graphs because that makes it easier to understand. It allows you to do some year-over-year comparisons. So,
do you have a favorite, pie or bar?
I mean, just in general, depending on what we're looking at. So if we're talking about transportation, I really love to break our transportation out into a pie chart because I can see, like, oh, here's our internal transportation, here's our external transportation, here's what's happening with our corporate vehicles and our commuting. And so I like that because it gives you a nice picture. But I really do love a bar graph or a line graph when we're looking at utility consumption, because I was like, oh, I love to see it go down. That's what I like.
In the grand scheme of things, for a company our size doing what we're doing, how are we doing? Are we
great?
Better than some, or
better than some, not as good as others. And when I say not as good, that's not really accurate. It's they're either reporting on data that we just haven't captured yet because we didn't know that we needed to capture it, essentially, until we started going back and looking and saying, oh, our system isn't pulling this information. Okay, how do we go back and get that? But on the whole, the things that we've been able to do this year, just in the first year that I've been here, are really impressive. When I talk to other people that are in sustainability or other folks in packaging, and I tell them what we're doing, they're like, "Oh my gosh, that's fantastic!"
Yeah.
And that's what you want. I want Premier to be synonymous with sustainable packaging. I don't want there to be anybody else that enters anybody's mind when they talk about packaging. I want it to just be us.
When they think about it, they think about us. How do we access our customers, our employees, if I want to go?
So it will be available on our website. So if you go to primpack.com /sustainability, it will be underneath. It'll be right there. You'll be able to access not only this report but future reports. If you happen to be at our national sales meeting, you will get a physical copy. We are not printing a ton of physical copies, really just enough for all of our sales folks to have one. And then, I personally want one just because I was like, oh, it's so beautiful. There are beautiful pictures in it. And
I'll miss that. I was at last year's national sales meeting, and they've asked me not to come back.
Oh, well.
It just happens.
You win some, you lose some. I'll make sure I save one for you.
We're not killing a bunch of trees by printing copies of this thing, right?
No,
it's PDF all the way.
Yeah, pretty limited run. And what we are printing on, we're actually printing on Mohawk paper, which
I know Mohawk. Yeah.
Well, and so then you probably know that their paper is made from 100% recycled content, and it's produced in a facility that is powered by 100% renewable energy.
Awesome.
So we were pretty intentional when we made those choices too.
That's what to print a sustainability report on, for sure.
Yeah.
Have I missed anything? What do you? I mean, you're excited, right?
Oh,
this is like award season for you, or tax time for
an accountant. Yes. Exactly. Yeah, I'm really excited, and I'm really proud of just not only the work that my team's been able to do, but to be able to showcase the good things that are happening all over this organization by people who are committed to sustainability and committed to gathering good data and providing us good data to make decisions.
Yeah. Without that, we're blindly stumbling in the dark, I guess. Exactly. Awesome. I look forward to it. I look forward to talking more about it.
Yeah, well, I'll make sure I save you one. I'll even autograph it for you.
You can just send me the PDF, and I'll read it on a plane.
There you go. That you have booked using TripIt, so I get the good information.
Doing TripIt. Oh man, we're just through the holiday season. I always forget. I kind of want to call you all the time when I'm throwing stuff away. I cannot put white styrofoam in my recycle bin, right?
Unfortunately, no. And it's a shame because styrofoam actually is truly like 100% recyclable, because it is so light, and it's very, very difficult to get to an economy of scale where it makes sense
People
to ship
want
it. You really need a densifier. So in an organization, so like if you like work in a lab or something and you get a ton of stuff that's shipped in styrofoam, then it makes sense to buy a densifier, because someone will buy that big block of styrofoam from you. But yeah, unfortunately, but
I can't, it's like, why, stop using this.
Exactly.
Dang it. What do you, yeah.
So
Anyway.
I will say I did learn this when I toured a landfill, because hey, who doesn't want to tour a landfill?
It might be kind of cool.
It's fascinating.
I'm sure it is.
But one thing
was it local? Where were you?
It was in California.
Okay. All right. Well, they probably have nicer landfills than we do. But
they're fancy, I'm not gonna lie. But one of the things that I learned was that because styrofoam is usually odd shaped, it creates air pockets in a landfill, and so it actually does aid in things decomposing in a landfill. So I was like,
it helps circulation.
Yeah, I was like, if there's one good thing about styrofoam, I guess that's it. But yeah, if we could not use it, that would be ideal.
All right. Fair enough. I had to ask that. And if you get a random call from me, it's because I'm cleaning out the garage and I need to know what the heck to do with something.
That's fine. Anytime.
Mackenzie, very fascinating conversation. Thank you.
Absolutely. I'm always happy to come here and talk about sustainability.
We'll do it again soon, I hope.
Can't wait.
And you should come back and co-host, so I'm not the only one yakking to customers.
Anytime.
Good deal.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
again.
Thanks.
Mackenzie Crigger, everybody, our sustainability manager. Thank you, guys. This is Billy Watkins with the Whole Package by Premier Packaging. Until next time.
Do you have comments, questions, or ideas about this topic? If so, we'd like to hear from you. Please visit primpack.com/podcast to let us know what you think. Thanks.